Hello, everybody. Welcome on this Sunday afternoon. I am streaming to both my channels, so thank you guys for being here, Eric's Reloaded and Eric's Debunks channels. Some cool stuff happening. Obviously, the weekly Geekly intro is back, and I've got some big news about that we will talk about in just a moment. I did not stream yesterday, so there was no after party, so you didn't miss that. Today, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, and I have some very special guests on the stream here today. We're going to start out with the person that arrived first, which was 3Dubs is here with us today from Party Nation, from around the corner, from Smallville, all the places you expect 3Dubs to be is where he is. So he is here with us. We also have Darth Bunyan from Fallible Fandom here in the house. Good to see you, Darth Bunyan.
Thank you for having me.
And we were talking before stream, and I was like, yeah, the weekly Geekly's coming back, and everybody's going to be super excited to see it. And let's go ahead. We got the scrolling at the bottom there. There we go. Get it going. And he showed up late, but better late than never. He is sitting in the green room now waiting to come up. One of the OG members of the weekly Geekly has arrived. Omega Well-Tall is here.
A wizard's never late. He arrives exactly when he wants to. Man, I woke up like maybe an hour late, an hour before this thing. I was like, oh shit, forgot.
Yeah. It was actually supposed to be. It was supposed to be yesterday, and I was like, "Get ready!" And then I looked, and the date was today. So I was like, "Oh, I guess we're doing it Sunday instead." Because, like, honestly,
this wouldn't have been good for me anyway.
I actually scheduled it so early in the morning that I didn't realize that StreamYard, this is something that people in the chat probably don't know, but StreamYard will sometimes default to the next day without you even noticing it. So you have to actually go in and set it for the same day. So when I scheduled the time, I just assumed that it knew I wanted to do Saturday, and it didn't. For Sunday.
Never assume.
I know, never assume. All right, so we're going to talk about the boys. We're going to talk a little bit about Acolyte. Darth Bunyan hasn't seen my adventure with Superman, so we're going to kind of hold off on that.
I don't mind spoilers, honestly.
Okay, well, it's not too spoilery anyway, except for the very end of this week's episode. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the set photos from Superman that people seem to be going crazy over. I can't wait to talk about that with you guys and see what you think about it. And just some other general stuff. We got some fun topics today, so I hope you guys are ready. Grab yourself something to eat. Grab yourself a drink.
Wait. This isn't the after party.
I know. I have to say it physically because the after party actually tells people to do it. This song doesn't. So, all right. So the big news is that starting next week, and I thought about this, and I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody about it, but I mentioned it to both Darth and 3Dub before we started. On Saturdays, there's going to be a shift in the universe. Things are going to change. The world is going to change. So the after party that is normally on Saturdays is moving days. And I'll explain why in just a second. But first, the weekly Geekly is replacing the time slot of the after party on Saturdays. So when you tune in at 5:30 on Saturdays, New York time, Eastern time, it will be the weekly Geekly moving forward and not the after party. And the reason for that is Superman and Lois returns in October. It's going to be on a Thursday night. And the after party, originally, the OG after party, before things all combined into one, I used to be live after every show. So, like, when it was just like 3 shows, I was live after all 3 of those shows every single night, and that was called the after party. It was when the Arrowverse blessed us with like 7 shows that we had to combine it all into one stream.
Good times.
I know. There's just too many things to talk about separately, so that's why we did it. So the after party will be moving to Thursday nights, late Thursday nights, and the weekly Geekly will be on Saturdays. So that is the change. It's still going to be a stream. We're still going to cover topics, but it opens the door for more things initially there. We have some team members in the chat. We have Defunct here. What is up, Defunct? Quindolin says, good to know. I'll prepare myself mentally for it. Hedgehog Nerd is here. Good to see you in the chat. South Texas Shark is in the building. McLeod is here. Lone Wolf is here. Good to see everybody. We already have some super chats, but before we get into those, I'm going to ask the people who may have had encountered this, because Darth Bunyan does not live in the United States. Did anybody do anything special for their holiday this week, or is it just another day for everybody? Just curious.
I had a pleasant sleep.
It was a holiday.
I don't really celebrate other than the two major holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those are the two main ones.
Did you hear about the guy, I think it was in South Carolina, who lit firecrackers on his head and ended up unaliving because of it or whatever? Did you see that or hear about that?
No.
He was dressed up as Uncle Sam. So he had the big hat on, and in the hat he had a bunch of firecrackers, and he was one of those people that I guess is too stupid to know that you shouldn't.
My condolences, but natural selection just kicked in.
Yeah, it's like what's happening here? So I was like, oh, it's bad. Like I saw the video at first and I didn't realize that he was not around anymore.
Was he high on candy canes?
I don't know. like word of advice to anybody out there: don't put things that are on fire on your body like that. Like just don't, or things that explode. It's not going to end well.
Common sense.
So Fetman says, I think he was drunk. Possibly. It's possible.
Must have been.
Alcohol always plays a factor.
Yeah, I saw that, Cameron. How's that feel, Darth Bunyan? Oh, you turn off your camera.
Sorry, yeah, I was just, I'm still here. Us Brits got the Tories out of government. Yes, I actually voted Labour. So the people I voted for actually won. We have a weird system, though, because I just voted for the local person and the larger person got chosen. Wow. You have like a whole list of people that you pick.
Our voting system is ridiculous, and it's different times of the year too. It's not all at the same time, so it's pretty pretty bad.
Whatever happened to Bin Head Man or something like that? Some dude that wears like a trash can on it as a
I don't know what happened to him. I know you're talking about
God. Yes, Lord Buckethead. Oh my God!
Okay.
That's all I know of British politics.
Yeah. No more politics though. Let's move on because people would they'll fight in the chat, and I don't want fighting. I don't want fighting. Not today. Not today, Satan. Not today. All right, so we have some super chats here. Crazy Cat Lady with a $5 super chat says Omega did like that X-Men cartoon brought up the cloth joke in it. Is that from another stream?
Was that from the when they joke about the X-Men's black suits?
I think so, yeah.
Probably. Oh yeah, what do you expect? Black leather. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, thank God they. Oh, vindication! Sweet vindication.
I'm excited because we're just a couple of weeks away. Actually, what is it? No, 3 weeks away from seeing that on-screen Wolverine suit in full display with Hugh Jackman. So I think a lot of people are really ready for that.
I kind of want the yellow suit Wolverine to just like flat out kill the black suit Wolverine and be like, "Where's some color next time? I couldn't see it."
Oh my God.
If I'm honest, they need to stop with these trailers. The trailers are now getting too much, and they're just showing all of the dang movie. Like they need to just.
I think it was a Japanese trailer I saw where I was like, "There's scenes in that I didn't want to see." So
yeah, that's the thing with a lot of Japanese trailers and probably even Korean and probably just Asian trailers to begin with. What I'm trying to say, because even with like I know it's with a lot of video games, but they show major trailers for games and stuff. They typically show the cool parts, not necessarily if it's a spoiler. Who cares? It's a cool part, and they'll put that in the trailer to get you to watch.
I think it's because also over there they have a different team that puts together the trailers. It's not the same as the team in the US. So, okay, so Hero's Journey. Oh, 3-dub. Here we go. You ready for this one? You ready for this? $10 super chat from 3-dub from a Hero's Journey, and 3-dubs. I can already see the look on his face. Last time she said no second thoughts, audience thoughts doesn't matter. Recent interview she said during God Complex Girl says she always thought about the audience. Contradictory narrative shifting. So he's talking about Supergirl and Melissa.
I know. I figured.
I'm sure you saw the interview, right? 3-dub. He's talking about. You read the interview. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look. Melissa we'll never see her in a regular role as Supergirl again. Like she might come back as like in the suit for like a cameo or something, but she'll never be in the role again. So if you didn't like her as Supergirl, you can just move on because now we have a new Supergirl with Amelia Alcock.
Well, we technically had 2 new Supergirls, Sasha Calle.
Yes, and Supergirl in My Adventures with Superman as well. So we have
3.
3. So yeah. So we can move on from that. Move on from Melissa. I think my opinions about her when it comes to how she navigated space after Supergirl was pretty accurate. Because I said she probably wouldn't go to cons and be visible like she was before. Because I know this is probably, I don't think everybody feels this way, but I do know like sometimes when I've talked to people at conventions, it's kind of looked at this way. A lot of actors that go and do the convention scene or whatever, people see that as being like the end of their career. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing anything but just really low budget TV shows at that point, and they're going to the cons to make money. But I will say, if you're not a lead on a show, and this is true, if you're not a lead actor on a show, you make a lot more money at conventions than you do on your episodes of TV.
Wow.
And that's pretty crazy because each episode, like say for example, you are the recurring characters. You're not a regular, you're a recurring character. You get paid like per appearance usually. And they were saying that a lot of people that go to do these conventions because of like photo ops and merch and all that can walk out of a convention like Dragon Con or something of that size with like anywhere from 75 to 100 grand from that one convention, including their appearance fees. And they say that's more than they usually make in a season of their shows. So that's why a lot of people do that. They continue to do those conventions because it's money. It's a money generating thing for them.
And some of those like autographs and pictures are like sometimes $50 to $100 each.
Yeah. Well, I know that what was it? Brie Larson's was $200 or something. It was like $210. So
yeah, damn.
It is a money printing system for actors. But Melissa Benoist had that deal with Warner Brothers, that production deal, which Girls on the Bus, I think, was canceled. So that's not moving forward with another season. I don't know. Is she producing anything right now? I didn't even see anything about her working on any projects.
Basically, she hasn't like any project that she went outside of Supergirl hasn't come out yet. So
yeah.
Eventually it might happen, but I'm more of an action guy.
Yeah. I didn't watch Girls on the Bus. Apparently no one else did either because it got canceled. So,
no.
Silhouette Animator with a $2 super chat. This is a good segue into our discussion about The Boys. The very worst of humanity on full display in The Boys this week. And yeah, so this week's episode was called 50 Shades of Huey. I believe that was the title.
I didn't even know that.
And yeah. So I actually did a rant and review for it that I never uploaded. And the reason why is going to be discussed today because we have some comments made by Eric Kripke and some of the people behind the scenes. We also have some news on Anthony Starr that we're going to talk about, some rumors. So we have a lot of stuff to cover. But we're going to go ahead and get into our discussion about the episode. So if you don't want to be spoiled on it, you're going to have to come back in a little bit because this might be the big bulk of the chat today. Thank you for the $2. Thank you for all the super chats, guys. I do appreciate it. So this episode of The Boys for me was kind of a mixed bag. I know Darth Bunyan loves it. I can't wait to hear him talk about it. And I'm curious what Omega, you saw it, right? You saw this week's episode?
Oh, shoot. I was muted. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm curious to see what everybody thinks about it because 3Dub probably has a similar opinion as I do, but it's going to be interesting to see what other people think about it. So this episode for me, should I start out with the good or the bad? What would y'all rather?
Start out with Fallible and see what he likes.
Okay, all right. So Darth Bunyan, Fallible Fandom.
Okay. Wow, a lot of pressure.
Give me your overall thoughts on the episode, just in general, because you seem very enthusiastic about it. So I'd like to hear what your.
I thought it was exciting. Honestly, I thought it was so much fun. There were so many moments that I was just like, "Oh my god, what? Are you serious?" A lot of tense moments, and then there was that bit with Starlight and Firecracker, where I was just like, wow, like your hubris is crazy. Like there was a moment of like real change there, but then with context of something later, I was like, well, maybe not, you know, because this woman's clearly going to some lengths. So I don't know. But yeah, I just thought, oh, it was so good. It was so good. I love it.
Okay, and Omega, your thoughts on the episode?
Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious. But there was one scene, and I think that you're probably going to get to that, where I kind of, at first it was funny, but then it got real creepy. And then after hearing the Twitter discourse, I'm like, yep, see, this is why I hate Twitter.
Are you talking about the main storyline, the Huey stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
well, like, once they got to like for a while, it was funny, especially with the cake farting and all that stuff. But then when it started to get pretty dark, and it's like male sexual abuse gets just tossed aside and kind of like,
I didn't even. So it did bother me a little bit, but then what really bugged me is what was said afterwards by or maybe not afterwards.
Yeah, by the author, one of the authors. Or
yeah,
whatever.
I was like, okay, maybe there was another side to this we're going to get to because of how the episode ends. But then he made the statements, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's a little weird.
Come on, yeah, but when it has Starlight, it's like it's this huge
problem.
It's like, I was trying to make a statement, but he's like, oh, it was fucking funny. I was like,
what could this statement be?
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So should we go ahead and pull up the statement then and just read it?
Pull up the statement.
Okay, let me get this and present this here. It's from Forbes, but let me get this here. Let me get it ready. I have to blow this up because it's a little tiny. All right. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the scene with Tech Knight and Huey, which is the 50 Shades of Huey part. Mm-hmm. And God, this is so tiny. I can't.
Control plus.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it out though. I'm going to actually pull it out of the browser. Maybe that'll help a little bit because sometimes I can resize it. There we go. Yeah, that works. So if you pull
quickly say,
yeah,
sorry, just to say that I love that they are using Tech Knight. Like I know it's in Gen V and stuff, but they're actually properly using him because he's been name dropped since season 1.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So I love that they're using the whole sandbox.
Okay, so I'm gonna maybe be careful with the words here. I still feel like YouTube is gonna flag this video because of the context of this conversation, but we'll see what happens here. Your super chats keep the show alive when it comes to stuff like this because YouTube does not like talking about stuff like this. Okay. So let's start with the Tech Knight SEX dungeon part. Where did the idea come from, and why bring Huey into the situation now, kicking him when he's down by having him SA'd by his childhood hero after his dad just died? So that was the first thing that I thought about. This was the part that bothered me initially in the episode was I felt like these aren't real people. So this wasn't Huey making a bad decision in real life. This was the writers purposely putting Huey in this position, right? Like making him go in and do this after it happened. And then at the end, when Starlight is talking about the mission, there was no follow-up to anything that happened to Huey in the dungeon. And when he was upset, it was very clear it was about his dad, and she didn't even pick up on that. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Your friends didn't even think about this at all? Like, no one on the team thought about this? And keep in mind, the only person that was really around was Starlight, and that's the person he's been with. And you would think that she would give a shit about what happened to him, but it didn't seem like she did either. So to me, that was the in show issue I had with it. Like that was the problem I had with it in the context of the show, was that MM was at the hospital, Kamiko was dealing with Frenchie, Butcher has his own shit. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Starlight was there with Huey through the majority of this. And when they were sitting in the base talking about it, it was like nothing even fucking happened to him. And I thought that was really wrong. I thought that was bad. Not necessarily bad writing, but bad from a character standpoint that Starlight didn't seem to give a fuck about the fact that his dad was gone and that he had just suffered all this abuse. That seemed a little weird to me, honestly. Anybody else agree or disagree with that?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, like I said before, when it comes to male SA, is like it's just
exactly that's
the rug, or it's the punchline.
The thing is, though, is their relationship's not in a good place at the moment, and hasn't been for like a whole chunk of episodes. Like they're not in a like their dynamic isn't where it usually is. So for her to be out of sorts and not like just be ready to jump in, I can be relaxed a bit on.
I would agree with that. Somewhat, except for the fact that she went out of her way to go with him and his mom to sprinkle his dad's ashes, so she definitely cares about him.
Yeah, but like
So why would she
like
not care that he was assaulted in a dungeon? Like, I feel like that's weird.
sometimes just being there is enough. You don't have to say something, you know.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't think it was conveyed well enough for me as a viewer.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah,
It seemed like it was an afterthought to her. She was focused on what the mission was, and it took him breaking down into tears for her to give a fuck about him. And I thought that was unusual, personally. And so that was my initial issue with it. When I was going in to do my review, that was going to be my take, was that they didn't follow through on it the way I wanted them to. Now, that doesn't mean it was wrong. I mean, that was they obviously wrote it the way they wrote it.
Yeah,
but,
it was. I thought it was just poorly handled.
Yeah, that was gonna be my take on it, was that they didn't handle it correctly. But let's look at what Eric Kripke said about the scene, and this is where my opinion shifted drastically. Well, that's a dark way to look at it. We view it as hilarious. Obviously, Tech Knight is our version of Batman. Yes, that makes sense. If you watch Gen V, you'll know the story behind that. And we really wanted to play around with that trope. Batman's fascist underpinnings, which there's been conversations about that as well, as a really wealthy dude who hunts poor people and then profits off their incarceration. So let's put a period right there and just kind of take that in. Do we feel like that is a accurate way to view Batman in general, or is that a very specific view of Batman in certain stories?
He doesn't like necessarily hunt poor people. He hunts anyone that like murders people in the alley.
I mean, let's be real. Anybody to Batman, unless he's trying to hit up Oliver Queen, is going to be poor, right? Like, he is in the top 0.0001%. So, like, it's just silly to make that statement, because obviously he's going to be knocking around poor people.
And it's kind of just based off of a meme of Batman going around just beating up criminals when he could have just did like community outreach or something like that. That's been a meme that's been going on for the past few years, and they just kind of amplified it.
I also want to say there are stories where Batman has been portrayed a slightly more like authoritarian character, but it's not the general idea of what Batman is, in my opinion. And I like Batman, but I'm not a Batman stan, so I'm not defending this because I'm like, Batman, love Batman, best character ever. I think Batman is one of the most overused characters, but because of that, there's also a lot of variations in Batman stories over the years. There's a lot of different versions of Batman that have been out there.
It's a cynical way to look at him, to be honest, because he doesn't actually profit of what he does. You know what I mean? Like, Bruce Wayne's not out there profiting. He's actually making charitable donations to all of the destruction that's caused by the criminals in his attempts to capture them. Right.
Okay, so it goes on. So that was one. Tech Knight was already set up to be a freak, so we kind of already halfway there. If you watch Gen V, you'll know that he was doing a bunch of weird whatever. So
do something free that was inappropriate.
Yeah. He should have a bat cave. But let's be honest, the bat cave would be a sex dungeon. So when he says that, I think he's referring to in the context of Tech Knight.
Yeah.
Like he says, let's be honest, the bat cave would be a sex dungeon if it was Tech Knight. And I don't disagree with that. I think that does make sense, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that scene, though. So when I was watching the scene where Huey was in there dressed up as Web Weaver, talking to Tech Knight, and Tech Knight said, "I'd like to show you my secret cave or the tech layer, whatever you call it." I thought, from a viewing perspective, that he had figured out Huey was lying at that point.
Yeah.
Did anybody else get that vibe? That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think he knew.
Okay. So when he went downstairs and we got to the portion where the cake shit was happening and he had Ladio chained up against the wall, like all that was going on, I was like, he knows it's not Web Weaver and he's going to make him do this ridiculous shit, and then he's going to pull his mask off and be like, I just humiliated you and you're not Web Weaver, whatever. So that was when I think the scene went beyond what I needed it to do, because I had already decided that Tech Knight knew that this wasn't Web Weaver, because this is supposed to be Batman and he's got the ability to tell when somebody's lying, basically. So I was like, there's no way he doesn't know this. But apparently he didn't. Apparently Huey was able to lie to him and fool him to the point where he even went down there and went through with multiple versions of like fetish stuff. And it's like,
I just remember because because it was just Web Weaver soup just reeks of Web Weaver, and so it just masked Huey smell till like later on. That's where he was like realizing, oh wait, you're not Web Weaver.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought Tech Knight, because we saw him on Gen V, he was able to pick up lies from little tiny things. And you could tell that he knew that Huey's heart rate was changing when he was saying things.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's why he's taking him to the dungeon, because he's going to lock him up and say, you're not Web Weaver, blah, 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 whatever. But that's not what happened. So for me, that was when I think it went on too long. It went too far at that point, because I feel like there was a lot of padding that happened after that. And again, I don't think that they went too far in terms of what The Boys does. The Boys is a very, like, it's a
There
gross.
is no limit to what the
Right.
boys can do.
Right.
It didn't last episode we had like sheep just eviscerating people.
But for me, when I think it went too far, I mean, the scene did not need to go on beyond that. I think they could have achieved.
Oh, I loved it. Right.
So, yeah,
Also, your heart rate will increase through stress of lying, but also anticipation and excitement.
Yeah,
So
especially
if
going
he
through
would-
like a BDSM thing. He
Batman
probably
could
couldn't
tell
do
the
it
difference,
himself,
though.
But the thing is, though, is he is in his own house, and he already feels like he's pulling off subterfuge. So to assume that his partner in crime is like lying to him, would like again, it's all about hubris. Like Starlight, right? There was a moment where she could have connected with Firecracker, but just was like, "Oh no, the mission comes first. Forget it. Poof, you're gone." You know what I mean? Like all of them are at fault for it. Homeland are the worst, obviously, but like every character has come to fault for this. So I think it's just another one.
And see, that's one of the things that I think has annoyed me a little bit. We're going to talk about all my issues with the show right now in terms of like where it is I need some highs and lows and some nuance between characters that not all of them are absolute pieces of shit. You know what I mean? Like I need something that shows me that there are characters that I'm supposed to be rooting for, not because I think they're the least problematic character. And I don't think there's anybody on The Boys that does that.
Well, we did see some of it from A-Train. Like, he's not a total dick.
Okay, so before we move on with this, like I want to read some more of this and go into that. But I do want to say that right now I am loving A-Train's story. I think he's got one of the strongest stories in the season. And the reason why, and let me tell you why, because I feel like it is a proper redemption arc for a character that makes sense. Because this is a character who has always done this like rubber band effect when it comes to what he's supposed to do with the Seven, how Vought treats him, how Homelander treats him. There's always been this rubber band effect. There's always been stuff dealing with his family, with how he's affected his brother, how he's affected people in his life. So I'm ready to accept A-Train as trying to redeem himself a little bit. I'm ready, as a viewer, I'm ready to accept that. And when he made the decisions he made, which were tough decisions, in the world of The Boys, they are tough decisions. And we talked about it, like what Homelander will do to him if he finds out that he's lying to him and all of this stuff. And A-Train makes that big decision, and I think arguably the biggest decision he's made this season was to, in public, save a member of The Boys. Like, risking being seen saving Mother's Milk. Like, that's a big deal. And he did it anyway. And then you see the scene where the kid's looking at him, and he's proud of him, and you see that click in A-Train's head, like, this is what it feels to be like a real
actual
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made me scared. I'm scared for him now.
Yeah, he's gonna die horribly.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's it. Yeah, I mean,
and I see like Homelander's his what people see Homelander as now, because you saw that whole like round table scene where he basically said he knew that he wasn't really wanted because they were trying to figure out who they wanted on their team, and he basically says I like it, and then everyone disagrees. And then he thinks about it, and then he goes, do that. And he was actually going to do that.
Yeah.
He was like, wait, but stop trying. You're basically.
McLeod here says, I can't help but feel that A-Train's going to get taken out. Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, like, it's going to happen for sure.
Yeah. Basically, they're scared of him.
Right. David here says none of the heroes are actually heroes. Tech Knight is not as smart as everyone thinks he is. That's it. Like, yeah, there's things about the show that I'm starting to like. There's stuff I love about The Boys, and I've talked about this with Darth at the beginning of the season when we talked about the premieres. But there's stuff I'm starting to resent a little bit about the show, and it has to do a lot with like some of the stuff that's said. So let's move back over here to this interview because I want to get through this here. Like in the Real Bat Cave is just wait, like even the real Batcave is just this side of being a sex dungeon. So now he's talking about Batman's Batcave. I don't necessarily agree with that, but then there's a little bit of like humor here where he goes, it's really dark. There's rubber suits everywhere. It's not as much of that push to add a couple of sex toys and then a weird urinal that turns into a face mask. That's such a weird way to look at Batcave. I saw that and I was like,
not entirely wrong.
No. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just such a weird take. Like, I don't know anybody that's ever said that to me in their entire life. And so I was like, this is really, really weird. Okay. So then he goes, in the comics, there's a great storyline where Huey goes undercover disguised as a superhero. That was a story that Jack had always asked it to do. So part of it is always be careful what you ask the writers for. Then we finally had this web weaver character, and the idea of Spider-Man going down to be tickled in the Batcave was just too good to pass up. I'm sorry I couldn't leave that on the table. And then the thing here, this is what was in the interview. King tickled, I'm sorry, this wasn't kink, it was entirely non-consensual. The fact the show's creator view it as hilarious and waves it off as some kind of funny sex dungeon scene is more disturbing than the scene itself. And when I read that response, I'm like, they're right. They are right. Like, whether or not we like the scene, it was, once it goes into the part where he's strapped to the table and Ashley comes in, which, by the way, she's a piece of shit. I've wanted to root for her over the years, but she's just a garbage person. Like, there's nothing I like about her.
Who? Ashley?
Yeah.
Oh,
vile. She's vile. She's vile.
It's just I don't know where the honestly I don't know where that came from. It's just all of a sudden in that one scene with the news anchor, she just has on those ultra high heels. Like, okay, who wants their balls crushed? And
yeah. Well,
like,
the thing is,
like
she was always weird, but
so a couple issues with this, and this is me being kind of pedantic, but just follow me here for a second. She shows up out of nowhere. She comes into the dungeon like she's always been there hanging out with him and being a part of this whole world they exist in or whatever. Where was all of this? It feels like a retcon to her story because she never really talked about anything Tech Knight related the whole time she's been with the Seven.
Yeah, it's just like I can understand like how all these people just get together, have weird sex parties or whatever, like, you know, the Illuminati or Hollywood elite conspiracy theories out there, because they were making fun of a lot of conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
I can understand that, but it's like, yeah, there was really no indication of that in the earlier seasons until like just now.
Yeah, but to be fair, like she was the head, right? So she's going to have access to files and know everybody's dirty secrets. So she could be using the files like Tinder this whole time.
Probably.
So this is like funny, like these kinds of comments are like the hot and cold shit that I'm talking about. Really agreeing with the Forbes article on this. We're having a discussion about the Forbes article.
Yeah.
There are things that I agree and disagree within this article. There's nothing wrong with that. Having the same opinion as something that somebody else has is not necessarily a weird thing. Like, I already had my reservations about the episode in general. I just didn't hear it said the way this article said it. And so I think it's quite an interesting take on it because it was a non-consensual act. So let's go down to the part where it really made me change my opinion on all of this. This is where it got really weird to me. So this is where he talked about the Starlight stuff that happened in the earlier seasons. He says, this is Eric Kripke again, I wanted to get it right. I had a lot of conversations with lots of women, some of which were very painful. And I did my absolute best to get the F out of the way and just let them speak and not try to steer it one way or another. And then ultimately kind of, you know, boil it down to Starlight's experience, both in that moment and then in the aftermath of that moment. Then when it came time to loop in Aaron and then Chase, then we went through that process all over again because the actors actually had to live and play it. So I'll say this, I've never worked so hard or stressed so much about a scene in my life before or since, because if I got that wrong, it's not just that it would fail as a scene, it would be hurtful. And I felt that pressure and responsibility all throughout. So there's a difference in the way he handled a male scene with assault versus a scene with a woman.
Yeah, scene with a woman, it's handled very, very carefully, but scene with a guy, it's the punchline.
Right. That is where I started to have an issue with this. I'm like, so why is it that one is hilarious and funny and okay, but the other one had to be done with like so much care and concern? Why do we as a society look at it that way? And that's the bigger picture of all of this. Because why was one serious and awful because it was Starlight, but then when it happens to Huey, it's funny and we're supposed to laugh at it?
I think that's a question we've been discussing for the better part of 80 years, probably.
I'm not look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with laughing at any of this stuff. It's all meant for entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it's fiction anyway.
I didn't laugh though.
No, I know, and it's okay to not.
I laughed so hard.
But the question I'm asking is, why is it that from a standpoint of creating this, he cared so much about whether or not the women were treated correctly in the aftermath, but the men were not? Why is that? Does that speak to something bigger in society than just this episode of television?
Yeah, that's
Jasmine has said it. Jasmine has said it, right? There is a double standard because if you switched around genders in that room, right? Again, I might not have been laughing so hard, right? Say, for example, if there was a female strapped up to the table instead of Huey and made to sit on the cake and stuff. I might not have laughed.
Yeah, just reverse Hugh and Starlight. If it was Starlight being forced to do all of that stuff, it would have been horrifying.
Yeah,
it would have been a different conversation altogether. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there is a double standard. Absolutely, we can all acknowledge that.
And that's all. That's what I'm saying. I want to acknowledge that it exists. Now, what you do with that, like whether in entertainment or whatever, is fine. But this is the same person. That's the issue. This is the same person that did both things. That's my problem. This would be the difference of when the Flash changed showrunners, right? You have one showrunner that does one thing, you have another showrunner that does another thing. You're gonna have that happen. But this is the same person. That's what makes it a little egregious.
Yeah, that's what I thought was a little jarring too. It's like, wait, but he said that, but then earlier he treated the whole thing with Starlight with such care and control and all that, but on this, it's the punchline. Like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, this is out of all the boys seasons, I loved every one of them. This is probably one of the only major missteps for me. And it's I wouldn't even say it was a major mix. It was a big misstep, but it was.
I found it funny, and if I switch off my brain, I'm still gonna laugh at the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I sat there
it was funny, but then later when I was kind of
yeah, because the thing as well, I think why he would have took more care is one, the series was incredibly green, so fresh and kind of pivotal to Starlight's character, right? And then the other side of that is this. I know it's it doesn't excuse it, but you can kind of see his reasoning. That involves penetration and complete lack of scent. This involves cake, tickling, and shame.
Yes, but it's still non-consensual. That's the issue.
No, I hear that. I'm just saying,
no, sorry, go.
I'm just saying, devil's advocate. He might have just been.
Let's go even further than that. The scene where Homelander was going to force two men to be together when they didn't want to be. That was also a punchline. Mm-hmm. That was also a joke, and that would have been assault. You know what I'm saying? And I know that was supposed to show the depravity of Homelander, but it does contradict the way Eric Kripke handled Starlight versus men. It's a different way of handling it, obviously.
I saw no way in which that was happening, right?
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
That was, yeah. Because that, yeah, because it was all about the awkwardness. Do you know what I mean? The fact that Deep was like.
So here's a clip from an interview also. This is Eric Kripke with some of the cast members. Let's listen to this and see if this changes anybody's opinion.
Colby gives a world-class comedic performance. Legit is one of the funniest comedic performances I've ever seen.
What?
Period.
Get out of here.
Your tickle scene with him is one of the craziest things we've ever done and one of the funniest.
That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, well, that's true.
You want that? I said you want that, pain slut.
Yes, mistress.
When I received that script, I found some dominatrixes that I could talk to for some research. And
so let me just say this. Everything they were doing in this, if it were consensual, is absolutely fine. Mm-hmm. I have no issue with any of this stuff. Whatever your fetish is, whatever your kink is when it comes to this kind of stuff as adults is fine. The issue is that at the point where he didn't know his quote unquote safe word, it became assault at that point. That was the issue I had with it, because of the fact that he was pretending to be somebody else. They didn't know that he was not that person. You know what I'm saying? And they dangled the safe word like a carrot over this guy's like.
I know. Isn't it like can you break it down to like a sexual who's on first? You know, like that's the punchline is he doesn't know the safe word.
Yes, that would have been the initial punchline. But then if you go beyond that, it becomes like, well, what happens now? Like, what happens after he doesn't know the safe word? Do we save him? Does he get rescued by his friends before anything continues? Or do we continue to assault this person in the scene after that has already been done? And the answer is B. They kept going. And so...
Yeah, because everybody's expectation in a superhero show is everybody bursts through the door, like Kamiko and Starlight come in kicking butt, but then they broke expectation and just doubled down.
Yeah. And see, Hacker, this would be fine if we were talking about a world where we did not know that was Huey. We knew it was Huey. So as viewers, we knew that. If we thought that was Webweaver, then the joke would be, oh my God, he doesn't know his safe word. Ha ha ha. We don't, maybe he's pretending. Maybe he does know his safe word. He just doesn't want her to stop. But we knew that as viewers. That's what made it different. That's why we know it was non-consensual. It wasn't an assumed non-consensual thing. We knew that it was not because we're watching the show.
That's another good point. Tracks up. Yeah, I literally watched this today. I watched this today as well. Like, it was crazy. And again, it was like it was supposed to be a giggle and feel almost triumphant because the assaulter has now been assaulted. So that's how that was played off.
Okay, so let me get into my bigger problem with the show right now, and it does speak to that a little bit, a tiny bit. So the boys, in my opinion, and I would love to be proven wrong, so in the chat or even people here on the stream with me, the boys, to me, outside of Butcher and Homelander, those two characters are sort of anomalies in this, and to some degree Starlight in the earlier seasons, not so much now, does not have a good track record of follow through on bigger stories. And what I mean is, like, for example, this season, I'm gonna give a couple examples. The idea of women's rights to choose when it comes to reproductive things, like with abortion and things like that. That is being used as a plot line. It is not a deeper discussion about what that is. Right? There's no conversation with her and Huey about this. It's being used as like her getting attacked in public because that's what happens on the news. We see it on social media. So the gag isn't let's have a conversation about what this really means. It's more like we need to use these things that are happening to drive our character stories. So we have that going on. What about the fact that Firecracker actually was engaged with the minor doing something inappropriate and her side, quote unquote, forgave her? But we stopped talking about it. It's no longer a conversation. No one in the news is seeing the other side of that conversation where people are chastising her for it or saying something about it. Because clearly, even if her side forgave her, that doesn't mean that everybody would. You know what I mean?
Is on.
But that in itself is a could be seen as like the mirror being held up to society, because after a couple of weeks, whenever something like that happens, it's just washed away and nobody talks about it again.
But what is the conversation in context of the show? What is happening there? Let's think about it for a second. It is literally just used to make her look bad in one scene, and there's no greater conversation to be had by it. And this is one of the criticisms I see about the boys a lot, is that they are no longer driving the conversation like they were in the earlier seasons. They are now copying things that are happening. There's no allegories to any of this. It is literally just something that happens in real life. They copy it, and then they just move on. And for me as a viewer, I feel like the show could be more refined in terms of like telling those stories. If you want to do that stuff, that's great. That's what made the boys so good in the earlier seasons for me, was that they took things and they made them work in the context of the boys. So there's not a lot of follow through for me on some of these stories. Like, I want to know more about the situation with Huey and Starlight and why they made that decision. What was the reason for it? Why did that happen? Are we going to have a conversation about that? No, we're not going to talk about it. It's never going to be brought up. It's never going to be made for that. So
they spoke about it. They spoke about it during
Yeah,
A
I
few
remember
times.
the brief conversation they had when it first happened, but they're still using it now. Like this is a hot button topic in the United States. They could be using this as a
Yeah.
platform to sort of educate people on the reasons why and why it's so important. But instead, they're just going with the shock factor that The Boys always does. And that to me is where the issue is. Like Eric Kripke keeps saying that he wants to use this as a platform to sort of like get issues out there, but you can't just drop something in to be like, oh, fuck these other people. I'm going to use this and then I'm not going to ever do anything more with it. Like I don't feel very satisfied with that as a viewer. I want to because I believe in the show. I believe in the characters. You know what I mean?
Do you think these situations are like plot devices of Cecile, basically, where it just moves the story along and then they don't do?
Well, that's it. That's my argument is that it is like, okay, so it is a TV show. So you're going to have stuff that the plot needs to move. And I get that. But I want The Boys could be so much smarter about the way it handles things because it has a large enough viewing audience and a really good creative team behind it. And like, for example, the whole stuff with Frenchie and Colin, right? I feel like now, because Colin has disappeared, was just a fucking plot device for Frenchie.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was a character at this point.
He wasn't. He was just... I don't know. They may have mentioned it before the other seasons, but he didn't show up until like what, maybe episode 2 of this season.
Well, the thing about it is though that he, with this whole thing with Frenchie, Darth, we talked about this before. I love the idea that they gave Frenchie a true romance to go with, like a good storyline where they were going to show him like building something. And then it becomes creepy because we find out that he did a hit on this person's family. So we know that that's happening in the background. That was not going to end well for him. We were just waiting for the other shoe to drop at that point, right? So that's fine. But now that situation is done and Frenchie turned himself in, Colin is gone. So that was all of that trauma was shown as an act of violence, and then nothing ever after that. Like, I don't know. I'm just it's like this episode sort of left me like I want more from the show. And there were some shining moments. Should we talk about the stuff that I loved about the episode? Because I feel like I've really gone in on it. I like the stuff with Butcher.
I do have a question with
go ahead.
Butcher, actually. So he's been obviously seeing someone. And I gained the inkling that that's his father? Or
No.
is it not?
You talking about Jack? The guy Jack?
The guy that's supposed to be like Sam's dad.
Kessler. Yeah, no, Kessler's not his dad. No,
that was somebody he saved, or he thought he saved. Basically, like
I'm still trying to figure out if he's a remember, because you see Butcher's ex-wife also being hallucination, but I'm wondering if he's an actual real person.
He was a real person. Yes.
Okay, so he's dead.
Yeah. Yes.
So yes, I thought for me, I was like, fuck yes. This is what I want from the show. Butcher's storyline, and we're talking about Homeland. I think Homelander's storyline with Firecracker is really good too. We'll get to that. But Butcher's storyline is exactly what I want from the show. That's the kind of storytelling that I want, because I tell you, I know some people said that they believed that guy was also a hallucination, but I was under the impression that he was not, because I felt like there was too many times that he was a part of stuff. But then it shows the flashback and you realize this guy has not interacted with anybody.
Yeah, because somebody was even saying, like, if he doesn't interact with anything or anyone, then it's hallucination. Now, in this episode, I specifically was looking for that. Because, like, as soon as he opens, he smacks the guy in the head, but then it immediately changed to Butcher just being right in his face. I was like, he's a hallucination.
I'm like, the one thing that threw me was actually I thought he was an hallucination too, like to begin with, and the one thing that threw me was the guy with the one missing leg looks right at him. What?
Samir. He was in Star Wars.
Yeah. Actual Phantom, good to see you, Dane. I feel like QE stuff was intended to comment on the reality of SA happening to men. That was the kind of how I rationalized it.
Yeah, but I thought so, but until the writer said what he said, I was like, okay,
exactly.
Come on, bro.
That's what I was like. I don't know.
Yeah, too much of a joke. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not me saying the show's dead. It's awful. It's horrible. That's not it.
Yeah, it was just
I'm saying
one
there's
misstep out of like
there's some things that I
bazillion
want from
great
the show
shows.
that I feel like they
Yeah.
still have an opportunity. We have another season. So I mean, there's
There's Jerry
more to come.
Padalecki coming.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know, but no.
So the Butcher stuff was great for me because people are gonna hate me when I say this. It reminded me of like some Arrowverse twist, like where you find out something happened. It's like, oh shit, it's been this all along. And so I got really excited about it because it felt really good. Plus the fact that now we know that this V mass in his brain actually has a sentience to it, which I think is creepy and weird. And if you watch the animated TV show Diabolical or whatever, there is an episode where a tumor becomes sentient. So I feel like this is sort of like going into that, but doing it in like a Venom kind of way because it's actually talking to him in his head. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Also, the idea that the reason why they did not pursue the whole like soup infection thing is because in order to take out Homelander, who is essentially Superman, they would have to make it so strong it would geno every single super on the planet.
Yeah, and he was down for it until like, first of all, his kid, his ex-wife's kid, and Starlight and Kimiko, and the guy even goes through that in his head. It's basically like, okay, if you really want to get rid of Homelander that bad, you have to get rid of all these people who's been on your side since the beginning. Well,
right, and this goes into something I wanted to bring around earlier before we jump back into the Tech Knight thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is you were talking about the fact that there are becoming fewer and fewer redeemable characters, and I kind of think of it like, like somebody fighting a war that they know they're never going to see the benefits of, right? And sometimes, like, the amount of people that are complicit in this superhero thing that are just taking over the world, it might be that like a whole chunk of everything just needs the board wiped clean and for new, fresh people to take over, because half of the world is full of villains, whether they've committed the crime or complicit, or or just reaping some benefits of.
You mean in the world of the boys?
Yeah. Like how did just I've got rid of Homelander now, the top guy, and now some new generation of heroes are going to take over, and that's where we leave things, or like where is the comeuppance for all of these people that are involved?
I think what you're talking about is what we're going to see unfold in the next season, because we know Gen V is continuing, but we know the boys is not. So something drastic is going to change. It's like the power shift is going to be very stark, I think, in terms of that. And speaking of that, here the comment was, will Gen V season 2 ever happen now? Yes, they're going to be doing Gen V. They're going to be continuing on with Gen V. So we have a couple super chats we're going to answer here quickly. Seeing a sentient tumor say I'm not a tumor. In the Arnold Schwarzenegger kindergarten cop voice delivery is the last thing left on my list. One more, I'm done. Yeah.
Honestly,
right, so
that'd be a plus for me, not a negative.
So this is a good segue into the topic of Homelander. Gary here with the 199 super chat says, does Iris pump her milk? Well, Iris doesn't, but apparently Firecracker does for Homelander, because that happens in the episode. Thank you for the super chat. I don't have an answer for that because the show is off the air, but thank you for the super chat, Gary. So the Homelander and Firecracker stuff was creepy and weird, but in the most boys way possible. That frame at the end of the episode where we see Homelander with the American flag cape laying on the bed, drinking milk from this performative, like bigoted podcast woman is one of the funniest fucking things I've seen all season.
Which was funny to me because he was like, look, I'm not sexy. Because when she starts to unzip, she's like, look, I'm not sexually attracted to it. And she just squirted in his face. He was like, oh.
I know, his wonderful face. It was so
what?
Oh, wonderful. Just wonderful. Honestly.
Yeah, that's the boys for you.
I mean, just okay. So the visuals of the show, there's no mistake that a character draped in the American flag doing what Homelander was doing was intended to be like a very stark contrast to like how people view the United States of America. Like, I feel like if you don't live here, like Darth Bunyan, obviously, like I know this, I've talked to people from around the world. everybody has sort of a different view of what the United States is, but I think that scene, watching basically a like allegory for our country wrapped up in one character from like the extreme side of the United States, drinking milk from someone who's representing this thing that is like this overwhelming anti-woke like sentiment or whatever. The symbolism in that was quite stark, correct? I mean, like, would you agree with that? I feel like that was
yeah. Like this guy is just handing the rest of the world memes to mock your country. Like he's just like, here you go, guys. How about it?
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna tell you this: the people who will make fun of Americans the most and the hardest are Americans.
That's true. I will agree with that.
We will tear ourselves apart.
Cody with the $5 super chat here says Firecracker is that subservient girlfriend that Homelander wanted Annie to be in season 2 and season 3. Do we agree with that? Do we think that's what's going on there?
I mean, now that she can freaking breastfeed him on call. Before he wasn't even looking at her direction, but now.
No, yeah, for real. Like he has obviously had women throwing themselves at him his whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everyone thinks he's like a god and stuff. And then so, like these are just two broken people. One who has gone to extraordinary lengths to try and make herself whole with the other person, you know, and try and fill the void and fill each other's voids. And it is crazy. And it does speak to relationships and how far people are willing to go to, instead of trying to fix themselves, to try and prop up another person who might prop them up as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat, Cody. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one from Lone Wolf. $5 super chat. Thank you, Lone Wolf. Is Sage working so far as a character for you? The answer to that is yes. I like Sage a lot. I think she's a very interesting character. By the way, I think her whole play with Victoria Newman was brilliant in the episode, because the whole time Victoria is going around and these politicians and rich guys are saying really dumb shit.
Stuff that actual sinners have fucking said before.
Like with Tech Knight and A-Train are like, my ancestors would have had a hard time chasing you or some dumb shit like that. But we find out that the whole point of Victoria being there and being stirred up by all of this was so Sage could push her, because she has that conversation about like her experience, and that pushes Victoria to make her speech at the end of the episode, which made Homelander very annoyed. By the way, I don't know if you saw that or not. His face he was not happy about Victoria kind of taking over for him. And Sister Sage, though, like the idea that she loses her intelligence when her brain is regrowing is becoming quite the funny scenario.
I just thought of something. There was a scene where Homelander comes very angrily into the alleyway where he flies off, and you see Mother's Milk. He's supposed to have super hearing, right?
Yes.
And he was like within super hearing.
Yeah, I don't know. So but that's the way I feel about Superman sometimes, is I feel like they just don't. Sometimes he has to turn it off, like in his brain, and not use it, so he doesn't become like. Maybe I'm not giving him an excuse.
Like
it's a valid question. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. So
I will say, is this after the party? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then yeah, like as Eric said, like he wasn't happy because of Victoria. Like he just got you know that bit where somebody shows they're more intelligent than him and he hasn't got an answer for it, and he just starts getting like with his old jaw and stuff. Like I think he was wrapped up in that, to be hearing people's heartbeats.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if everybody else can do it or not, but it seems like you can actually like super chats now. So if you guys are like a super chat, I think you can heart it. Or maybe it's just me. Might just be me.
Yeah, it's just
I can't do anything.
They have a thing. Some other channels have it so you can actually comment and respond to super chats now. I think it's like rolling out.
There is a comment that said, well, I mean, not comment. There is like a selection where I can join the chat, but I don't want to click it because I'm not like familiar with it. So
yeah, I don't know why it does that. Anyway,
super chat, which I'm going to do now.
So the other question: what do you think what do you think Ryan will end this season, or what's going to happen with Ryan this season? I think we're setting up Ryan to be a big deal in next season because the actor's getting older. So I think they're going to keep him around to either be a sidekick to his dad to fight the rest of the boys, or to be a weapon against his dad. That's essentially what it's going to be.
I kind of he might end up being like, well, they say they weren't going to do too many crossovers with Gen V, but he might end up. Actually,
you think he'll go to?
Yeah, he might end up going to Gen V.
I was going to say to the university. Goes, to Godolkin University.
I honestly hope they do what they did in the comics, not necessarily. Because they are obviously said that Black Noir is not like a clone, but
huge departure.
Yeah, but I kind of want some sort of like tie-in with it, not necessarily direct from the page, but have a similar outcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. And happy birthday, by the way. This episode dropped on my birthday, so happy belated birthday, Lone Wolf. Thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday.
Okay, so I think we also had the scene between Noir and Deep where he kind of talked to him about leaving and going to do this other acting job or something like that. I don't know where they're going with that storyline. I like the Black Noir stuff, but it feels like it's being overshadowed by everything else this season.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I'm more interested in him than I am for actually Kamiko and Richie, honestly.
Kamiko is not getting a lot.
I honestly forgot what happened to Black Noir.
Done.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot what happened to Black Noir because
you forgot that he was gutted by Homelander.
Like, no, I forgot he was not. I thought he survived somehow and was the same guy.
Nah, totally different dude. It's the same actor, but it's
so the funny thing is, okay. So one thing I will say before we wrap this up is the actor apparently is like a soup, like a proper soup. He's like, I can fly. So he's, and that's a very unique thing. That's a very unique. Apparently, like. Only a small amount of supers can actually fly.
They may go in a different route because, of course, in the comics, Black Noir is a straight up clone of Homelander. He just can't fly. Yeah. What if this Black Noir is actually as strong as Homelander?
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering if
he's just underpinned because he's whatever. He's just a Black.
Because if he is, I kind of want the same storyline.
Yeah. I would take the same.
Black Noir actually ends up taking out Homelander in the comics.
Yeah. Okay, so before we actually, we'll talk about this next thing first. But does anybody want to drop a numeric score for this episode of The Boys? I'd put it like around a 7, like a 7.
I would have given it an 8, but then the whole thing kind of rubbed me the wrong way with the Huey sex dungeon. That I'd give like maybe 7.5.
For me, it's like it's a good, but without the gruesome stuff. So
well, that's the thing is you have to kind of sort of accept The Boys is going to
be. It's kind of like with Phantom was saying, I found it hilarious. I did find the whole sex dungeon hilarious, but just in that one part, it's like, okay, now I'm tripping.
I like binge watched 6 episodes just to catch up, and I'm like, I totally forgot how gory this shit is.
The show is gory. Yes, that's The Boys.
I literally turned my head away.
Penis is everywhere, blood everywhere. That's what The Boys is.
I literally turned my head. I was like, is this the turning away head?
No, when he gave dude the sandpaper to wipe, I was like, I even put it in Lance's chest. What's going on in this episode? It's like, you can use this to wipe.
Look, like I said, everything to do with the farting cake thing made me laugh out loud because that was so dumb and ridiculous.
And people actually do get off to that stuff, which is weird. You people need Jesus. Well, actually, you need something. I don't know. Jesus.
But after the episode, I was like, I'm questioning my morality.
What about you, Fowl? What would you give it? I know you really enjoyed it. What would you give it?
See, this is why I need to look at myself because it's still a 9. Like it's still real. I still love it.
No,
like
look, there are people in the chat. There are people in the chat that are totally agreeing with you. So you're not. It's like
people at 8.
Like you can give it whatever you want to give it. I'm not judging. Look,
top notch.
I am not judging anybody's like morals or ethics based on a TV show. Like that's not what I'm doing. Like if you like what you like, it's gonna make them. It's gonna make it. So I'm not like I mean, the question of the intention of the show really comes down to how we follow through. My opinion of the episode might change drastically if next week we have some huge, massive follow up with Starlight and Huey that makes me feel like it's a much more. Like there's a solid answer to it, and it looks like it's heading in that direction. So maybe it'll change my opinion about the episode when we get there.
I'll give it a 7.
Have to see. So
maybe he'll unpack it after he's unpacked his dad's stuff. You know?
Exactly. Because we have to remember, it wasn't that his dad passed away. He had to make the decision.
Yeah,
To-
and
to
actually
do
had
it.
to
And do it.
yeah,
and
do
yeah.
stuff like that's rough, man.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I wanted to ask what you thought like about Ryan, right? Because Homeland is so invested in him now, right? That if we have two options: take him away from him, don't take him away from him. If we do, what does he have left? What kind of Homelander are we dealing with that season 5 even we get to? Do you know what I mean? That he's not scorched the earth.
I actually think if Ryan turns on Homelander, that will be the final thing that will send him over the edge. Because right now, I believe Ryan is the only thing keeping him on hook. Like, I think if once that is gone, there's nothing stopping him from just being an all-out like evil Superman, like straight up evil Superman. Because right now, we talked about it. My friends and I, we've talked about this. They're trying to do this thing where Homelander is struggling to hold on to what makes him Homelander, but he's on the edge. He's literally on the edge of that. And there's no one keeping him in check because Victoria is afraid to push her leverage against him. And there's no other supes challenging him right now. Everybody's bending over backwards, except for Sister Sage, who seemed to be really smart about the way she's handling this. But that might change after this week's episode. We'll see what happens. But I think he's one step away from going over the edge. And I think Ryan is the only thing holding him on, to be honest.
Something that Hero's Journey said, I'm confused if the show had the show had toxic scenes, why giving it a high score? Because one scene doesn't justify the entire show.
And I need therapy.
He's gonna make me say, "Oh, this is an awful scene."
Well, no. I think okay. So in context of the show, we don't know what's going to be the follow up to that scene. Nobody's saying the scene was a good thing. I mean, Tech Knight ended up getting unalived because of what happened. So there was instant karma basically for what happened. But my issue is the follow up with Huey. We need to see how they're going to follow up with this and how they deal with it, because Tech Knight paid the ultimate price for doing that. So there was a sort of revenge arc that happened immediately. Like, it was just instant. And Ladio was very happy about giving away all of his secrets. So, you know,
so
he was, I think
he
he
was
was
to other people. Yeah.
All right. So this is the next boys thing, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. So the boys leaker Vought HQ accuses Anthony Starr of abusive behavior and bullying on set. He allegedly bullied Dominique so much that she left the industry. That's what the leaker is reportedly hated by the show's staff, so it's not entirely clear how true the accusations are. So I want to say we're gonna look at this.
Wow.
But this person has been known to post inflammatory stuff in the past. But somebody asked me my opinion about it, so we're gonna talk about it quickly and then move on. Here goes. This is a question for Vought HQ, which is like a leaker for the boys. You mentioned the bullying and Cass leaving. What happened? I was told by someone in costumes that Anthony bullied Dominique so bad that she left the industry and would always fly back home instead of being with the cast because of him. He's a bully, a sexist dickhead who has beaten up on people on more than one occasion. So literally, this is the only person saying this that I can see so far, and no one has came out and said anything else about it. But I did look up on her wiki, and she isn't actually doing anything right now. So I don't know if it's true or not. She's not doing anything like that.
If he's been out here beating on people, wouldn't there be like some kind of charges filed or like settlements, like in a whole thing?
Well, I mean, like in terms of like the cast and stuff, absolutely. If he were doing things like that on cast, I'm sure there would be something else out there. But my point is, this could be true or it could be complete cap. Like, I don't know if it is or if it isn't. But somebody wanted to ask my opinion on it, and my opinion is this: if somebody is doing some shit like this, they need to be held accountable for it. And if they're not, then this kind of stuff is just kind of garbage. So I don't know how to take this in because there's no other context other than this statement. So it's quite possible it's completely made up. I don't know.
I heard from, you know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like third, fourth-hand information.
Yeah, it's like the whole, like for me, it's kind of like the whole Dr. Disrespect thing. When that first came out, it was like, hey, wait a minute, these are some harsh accusations. I'm gonna wait till all the information come out. Oh, it's actually true.
Right, and then the front page news is confession, right? Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. Yeah,
I do want to Homelander, Anthony Starr basically said that I don't like when fans look at him as Homelander outside.
Yeah,
home.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. So Cody here dropping some stuff, and I knew somebody was going to bring this up because I didn't have all the details. But he says here he was involved in another thing. Actually, there was an assault situation. So
that's why I'm kind of like, maybe.
But not on the set of The Boys. This happened.
Yeah, it was like something completely unrelated.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. So that gives
So there is a possibility,
yeah.
but see, that's why comments like that, it's 50-50 because he is someone that has lost.
I need more info.
Right.
Yeah, it's like with the same with the whole Dr. Disrespect.
However,
like
I said, if he did do it, fuck him. Like that's how I feel about it. Like,
same with I'm gonna go back to Dr. Disrespect again. I actually really liked him until I found out about this stuff. And I was like, all right, you know what? Screw this guy. I'm done.
Yeah. So Gary, I'm gonna pull this up, but we're not gonna go in detail about it because I don't want to. I'll say this: I don't mind talking about politics in general, but on YouTube, if you talk about politics, your streams get yellow icons every single time, and I don't want to talk about it. I've talked about it with Paigey. We figured out why my streams were getting limited views, and getting limited markets, and it always has to do with something political. So we're gonna pull the super chat. I'm gonna acknowledge it.
Oh.
Okay.
199 from Gary says, how are you and what did you think about the debate? You're talking about the debate from like a week ago or whatever.
Kill me.
Everything in the government in the United States is a circus right now, and that's what I'm going to leave it at. Everything is a circus. I don't have much else to really say about that or whatever. I'll save it for another stream. I don't feel like this one getting demonetized. So if you would like for me to talk about it, you could join me on the Eric Debunks channel, which the stream is on Eric Debunks, but you can join me on that channel on a separate stream where we'll talk about American politics. We're not going to do it on this stream, unfortunately. Low Watermark gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much, Low Watermark. If you are in my Eric Debunks stream channel watching this, you might be one of the people who got gifted a membership. So give a shout out to Low Watermark for that. Awesome. Good to see you, Low Watermark. And we have to do a stream together very soon. I love having him on the stream. So thank you so much. Make sure you give him a shout out, everybody who's watching, who got gifted one. And even if you didn't give him a shout out, because that's awesome. I do appreciate that. Love the support. Thank you guys.
Going beyond and beyond.
Yeah. Above and beyond.
We got
a little bit longer. Let's see what we got here to talk about. We got some fun stuff. Not fun, but very interesting here. So this is one where I was kind of confused, and hopefully somebody can clear it up for me. It says here, this is about the Arkham series. They pull this out so it's much bigger on screen there. And it says, the planned Arkham Asylum TV series is no longer moving forward at Max. As Variety exclusively reported on October 2022, Antonio Campos had come aboard to serve as the writer and showrunner of the series, which was originally meant to be set within the world of Matt Reeves' The Batman. But according to an individual with knowledge of the situation, Campos' version will not proceed. It is still possible, though, a new project set within the infamous Gotham City Asylum can develop in the future, the individual noted. Go ahead, 3Dub. Tell me what you're going to tell me.
I was going to say, like, they already said that they are already revamping it into a DCU project.
Yes, I saw that. James Gunn did say that.
And that, the Matt Reeves is done. It's canceled. Like,
right.
They're basically saying the same thing.
Yeah. So, in other words, this is... It is news, but it feels a bit redundant because this is something that has already sort of happened. And
reminder, this happened.
So we are still getting another project, but it's not this project because this was never going to move forward anyway, basically, is what they're saying. We're still getting the Penguin this year. Does anybody know when that's coming out? Do we have a date for that yet?
Yeah, it said something about like 2024.
Did it really? Thank you, 3Dub. My question to the chat, though, and to people here on the panel, are you upset that this project is not moving forward officially now? They're not going to be doing this Arkham Asylum Batman series.
I was interested, but not like excited about it. I mean, like for me, like it I kind of want the bad guys in the movie, not in the TV show, because I get like they did something similar.
Why do you hate TV, 3Dub? Why do you hate television?
No, because no, it's I love TV. I'm just like I don't like all the Easter eggs in the TV show. I want them in the movie.
Right.
They did something similar with Elseworlds. I think it was it was Elseworlds, where they basically go into this asylum and you see all these things like these names on these doors, and if you see those names, you want them. We're never going to get that.
Yeah. I haven't really talked about the Penguin trailer because it didn't. It's been months now since it came out, right? There's not a new one.
It's coming out September 8th, 2024.
The Penguin TV show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Penguin TV. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts, opinions about the Batman Arkham series not moving forward?
I'm more like angry that the Justice League Dark isn't coming out. That was my favorite. My ecstatic for it was Justice League Dark and Constantine.
So this is definitely going to get flagged on my channel, just like the other trailer I watched for the Suicide Squad. That's gone off the stream because they came in and flagged it. But this is the trailer for the Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League, and this is a continuation of the Ninja Batman series that was bonkers. Did anybody else see that movie?
Yes.
They had a giant
Batman Ninja.
Yeah,
giant Joker thing?
I heard it wasn't great.
It went a little bonkers at the end. I think it was okay up until the very end, and then it became just like a kaiju fight, which is fine, but it was just a little weird. But anyway, here's the trailer. It's 30 seconds. Let's see if this piques anybody's interest. Here we go. So what do we think? First thoughts before we kind of go through and look at these characters.
Seems interesting.
Yeah. Seems fun.
I'm just wondering when the people who complained about Assassin's Creed are going to complain about this.
That's exactly what people are saying on the internet. They're like, why is this okay? Batman was never a ninja. He wasn't a real ninja.
I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go back. So I guess this is a version of Jessica Cruz. Is that correct? Is that what that would be?
Yeah.
Guessing. Pretty cool. Then we have a Aquaman here. That's all we get is that shot.
Hey, that was sick though.
Look at all the tattoos.
Yeah, I was about to say the tattoos look sick.
Yeah, Jason Momoa changed. Look, I will say that Jason Momoa has kind of changed Aquaman forever in terms of the way we view Aquaman. Would you agree with that?
He's not good. Oh well.
For me,
I would say Alan Richardson did it first, but
yeah, I was gonna say for me, it was the Aquaman from the Justice League cartoons that changed him around for me.
Yeah,
the one that was voiced by Phil Lamar.
And we got I have to say, this shot of the Flash right here. Look at the lightning under the cape. Oh my god, this looks so cool. And then look, oh my god, that's so anime. And they didn't really change the costume too much. This is really just do we think it's going to be Barry or Wally? Who do we think this is? It looks like Barry to me.
Barry. We got the change.
Yeah.
It's definitely a homage to the Flash, Grant Gustin, because of the chin chap.
So good. I had my criticism about the first movie. It did get a little bonkers, but now that I've seen this, because we all know the Flash is my favorite DC character, I'm totally ready to fucking watch this. This is gonna be.
You're just sold now. That's it. You're sold.
He reminds me of Mortal Kombat, the guy with the
Raiden.
Yeah, Raiden. Yeah. Doesn't he do lightning too?
Ooh, yeah, good call. Yeah.
So speaking of Green Lantern, I guess we could talk about this for a moment.
I think I just saw that on Twitter. No, it's something else.
My video about this was not very popular. People did not like my take on this. I hate this suit.
I hate it too.
I don't think this is the main suit. This is you said that Maxwell Lord's involved, right?
Yeah, Maxwell Lord is involved. He created all these suits. They're not supposed to be likable. They're supposed to be
not the main suits. Yeah,
goon suits.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're supposed to be poopy.
This ruins the whole movie for me. 0 out of 10.
No. This is,
He's joking, dude.
this I'm just saying, like, this is their low moment, right? This is gonna be half an hour where they're wearing these or whatever, and then there's gonna be like a triumphant bam, and then costume change. Everybody gets their own fatigues, and then bam, they're good to go for the super.
That sounds woke to me. I'm not.
I think it's going to be a little more emotional, where they take after Superman's lead and decide to stop being tied to a corporate, and then get their own suits.
I think that this feels like Booster Gold coded, like these corporate superheroes that are working for like a massive company that are out.
DC's book.
What was that?
DC's book.
Yeah, pretty much. I just don't like. Okay, so outside of the idea that I don't like the suit, it just doesn't like. I don't know. Like Mr. Terrific's looks good. Hawk Girls, even though it's this Lord suit or whatever, this doesn't look bad. The Green Lantern suit just doesn't look good to me. It just doesn't look like a good suit.
I will say that James Gunn did go through with the bowl cut, so
I hate that haircut. I hate that haircut. It looks so bad to me. And look, I know people are like, well, it looked bad in the comics. Yeah, I didn't like it in the comics either. And I don't like it on a real person.
Would you say it's comic book accurate?
Yes, it definitely has fidelity from the comics, but it's so ugly on Nathan. Like I just don't like that part of it, and I hated it. I struggled when I made my video reaction. I was being 100% real when I could not speak. I was like, my initial thoughts is like, is he going to be a full-fledged Green Lantern at this point, or is this just the Maxwell Lord version of a Green Lantern?
Maxwell Lord version.
So
I think it's going to be.
I think he will fully embrace his Green Lanternness. I think when he puts on the ring and he uses his power, the ring changes his suit.
Yeah, but isn't he like not of Earth anyway?
No, he's from Earth.
Someone said he's an alien a few streams ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. But point is, this guy is like a few lanterns deep. There's no way he doesn't know about space, aliens, and the like. Do you know what I mean? Like he even if he's green, he can't be too green. There's still like a whole bunch that comes with it, right? And I think the fact that we're all hating on his suit is going to be very meta in the movie, and it's because he's already like a hated character. No one likes Guy Gardner. Right?
I think the suits are a story. A thing that's going to involve a story. Like basically, some are saying that it's going to be like they're referencing like two different stories in the comics where they're basically a group of heroes that are like paid to be heroes and eventually stop that. But I think the story is it's the suits are story wise. Like
so you think that part of the growth of these characters is going to be moving on from the Maxwell Lord stuff into like being the Justice League? Yep. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree, Mars. One can never be too green. I agree with that. All right, let's see here. Hold on. So if you don't like that Green Lantern suit, I think I have one that we're all gonna love. Are we ready to see?
No, not the Diggle.
Yes, we're gonna look at the one we love here. The one that I think,
oh my gosh,
is the best concept art for a Green Lantern suit ever.
Did you see my rant on Twitter?
Yeah, but let's talk about it over here, 3Dub. Let's talk about the Diggle Green Lantern suit here. What do you think about this suit, Omega? Is this Green Lantern suit for you?
No.
Give him an actual gun because black. I mean, don't get me wrong, guns are cool, but every black character in fiction or whatever always has a freaking gun.
Yeah, exactly, Hero. Why 3Dubs? Why do you hate Diggle? Why?
I don't hate Diggle. I hate the tease that they keep doing us.
So they were going to actually make him Green Lantern at one point.
Yeah, they had a perfect.
So why the gun?
Season 8.
He's a Green Lantern. I mean, if they want to give him a gun, shouldn't it be made out of hard light?
Season 8, they had the perfect ending for him. He gets hit by a box, opens it up, and it's the Green Ring. That should have been it.
Mhm.
They shouldn't have like moved it onto the Flash and then threw it away and be like it's a transmutable box or whatever. And it's a
Oh
tag.
yeah. Hmm.
That was fucking bogus. Just pardon my language.
Mm.
Wow. So
I-
somebody pointed out, and this is true, that Simon Baz has a gun in the comics, and he's a Lantern.
I don't agree with that either. Like that shouldn't have happened then. Like just because it has happened doesn't mean it should have happened.
I mean, I'm just saying, like some people were saying that they were going to turn him into like the Jon Stewart crossover with Simon Baz type thing or whatever.
Yeah,
but
no,
I don't know.
I'm glad that is a concept suit. That is awful.
Okay, so take the gun out of his hand. What do we give the suit? 1 out of 10, honestly.
3.
I don't think there's a ranking for this. I think it's going to be in the negative.
Wow. Wow. Omega, you never watched Arrow really, so
Yeah, I never really
outside
watched
of
these
that,
series, but as a fan of concept art in general, go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
If
I
this
not
was,
usually love concept art, but
if this was a suit and we did not get a green ring, I would be so ticked off. Right?
what if hear me out. Okay, let me cook with this one. What if the Green Lantern in the Arrow universe, what if they're powered by guns?
Oh no.
What if
Don't Iron Fist it,
American-
don't
America?
yeah, that's the
What
most American Green Lantern I've ever seen.
What if
Truck,
I think
y'all.
this would be kind of a cool take, right? Like the gun is the ring. So basically you have to recharge your gun every
Oh
single
my
time
gosh.
you want to use your powers. Like I think that
Take
would
it to the
be
gas station, you know? Yeah. Oh my
It
goodness.
kind of
Oh, God.
reminds me of Iron Fist at the end of season 2, where he just like fires Iron Fist bullets.
Yeah. Yep. Just imagine that, but then make it Green Lantern. You know, Green Lantern uses weapon like he's got like a an AR whatever gun that shoots like random green constructs out of it. What if it's like
The
one of those
complete
Bugs
lack
Bunny
of
guns,
green
right?
in the
Like-
outfit.
Yeah, I know. It's just on the shoulders, right? There's like they hate to make Green Lantern green. I think it's the Ryan Reynolds effect. Like it's the blowback from that. But could you imagine if you would just
use
shoot
a green screen or something? Or
Oh, maybe that's possible. You might be right.
Did Diggle, remind my memory, did Diggle ever wear red in his suit?
I don't think so.
I thought he did. Or
Maybe.
or am I mixing up Crisis on Earth? With
Could you imagine if you went to shoot the gun and it was just a giant fist, like one of those like bugs?
Okay. I'm a little bit sold on the gun now. Okay, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
that would be funny. So, Defunct swooping in and gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Defunct. If you're in the chat and you were one of the people gifted with the membership, make sure you give a shout out to Defunct for supporting. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I do appreciate it. Make sure you check out your member benefits. There are early access to videos and special emojis and badges. So thank you so much.
so is there OnlyFans?
There actually I do have an OnlyFans. I'm not going to talk too much about it because YouTube will block it.
Oh,
I
sweet.
do have one, but I did it only to keep another person from named he's a voice actor who did it. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
You know who you are. You know who you are. He knows what he did.
made fake OnlyFans with my name on it just to advertise, and I was like, that's not cool.
What?
So
He knows what he
Yeah.
did.
yeah.
I'm just trying
He
to get
knows
to
what he
the
is.
So I had to create one official so that no one else could do, or that no one could be like, oh, that's his.
I seen
It's
something.
the only one. So what would you say? Okay, hold on.
That's the
There,
red.
there it is. That's the red one. Okay. So what season was that? Was that season 3?
I think season 3.
Is that a
No,
Lantern?
it was season 4. It had to be season
Okay.
4 because that's when you got the home.
Is that a
Is
Lantern?
that when Arsenal was there or not there?
No. This was Diggle. So this is the suit of the guy, the concept art we just looked at.
No.
Like on-
Yeah, no, I'm saying, like, was Arsenal around at the time in season when this was around? Like, would he have
I
been
mean,
matching Arsenal?
he had an arc, like he had an episode.
Yeah. Interesting.
Not Arsenal.
I don't mind. I
Speedy.
don't mind the Diggle
I know.
suit, but I don't like it as a Green Lantern suit. I think that's a little weird.
He's Spartan right now.
Yeah. So did you guys see that they had to change the artwork for the Frankenstein's Bride and Creature Commandos because of a lawsuit?
No.
They haven't disclosed like the details of it, but apparently the white squiggly hair with the
yeah
is trademarked by Universal for Bride of Frankenstein, so they can't use it. They had to change
Okay.
What suit was?
Okay. Fair.
What suit?
The Bride of in Creature Commandos. There's a Frankenstein's Bride who has the classic hair from like Bride of Frankenstein movie. Apparently, that's owned by Universal, and they can't do that design. They have to change the design of the hair. So, yeah, I don't know all the details or whatever. All right, hold on a second here. We have a member chat from Keely Chow, member for 1 month here. The drinker could write to have Green Lantern using a gun that was formed using his ring. Yes, you could argue that would be, you could do a construct of anything. So yes, you could make a construct of a, like, really it comes down to how skilled you are as a lantern to what your constructs are, which is why it's really funny to me. In reality, as far as I know, John Stewart was the most technically skilled in constructs in the Green Lantern universe. And I could be wrong about that. Talking about like the Earthbound lanterns, he was the one that had the best imagination for making weapons and things like that out of constructs. But I don't know if that translated into the animated world, but I do know that it was something that happened in terms of like lore in the comics, I believe. But yes, Keely, I understand the joke there with the critical drinker. I do. That's funny. All right. Last topic we're going to talk about before we wrap everything up. And I want to take a look here at this updated photo of the Captain America suit for Sam next to one of Steve's most iconic suits.
I like it.
What do we think about this change? Now, we talked about a lot of white in the suit. The Falcon version of Captain America suit in the comics went for a long time having the white as the primary colorway. What do we think of this particular design? Because it is very reminiscent of this like classic Captain America suit.
I think it's still like there's a specific reason he's wearing it, but I think the white one is my favorite.
Thank you. You said exactly what I wanted to, right? Because this is them doubling down, in my opinion, to say, hey, this is Captain America. Shut the F up, right?
Yeah.
Because his white one was stunning, and he pulled that off amazingly. It looked so good. It breaks my heart that this is a move that is needed, because he was pulling off that suit, like 3Dub said.
Yeah, I like it, but I like it because I like that color profile on Captain America, the muted red, white, and blue. I've always really liked that. Actually, my favorite Captain America suit in the entire run of Captain America in the MCU was the stealth suit from Winter Soldier. I love that suit. That was my favorite
honestly
suit.
Thought the tactical look of the World War II looking suit where he basically it's like a homemade suit. I kind of like it, but
like the one with the cargo pants and the brown straps.
It felt like very tactical, like he's on a mission to wipe out the entire Hydra.
Yeah, a lot of people said that if you go back and you watch the first Avengers, that suit is the most comic book suit, though, the one in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah,
it's like
even just like on the side of his head as well, like the whole wings.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't quote unquote over designed like they claim most of the suits are.
But my favorite is Winter Soldier suit.
Yes,
that's very, very.
All right, so we got to talk about this. This is kind of like I said, we're going to cover some Captain America stuff here before we wrap everything up here. This is a rumor, but it's coming from one of those sources where is it real, is it not real? Captain America Brave New World reportedly has a budget of 350 to 375 million now because of all the stuff they've had to do after the fact. How do we feel about that?
It's definitely going to go past that, so I'm not worried.
Is the show going to be good? Is the show good?
Well, it's a movie. It's a movie.
I mean, yeah. Is the movie good? No.
I mean,
okay, cool. Is it good?
Well, yeah.
Okay, cool.
My only concern with this is based on the next bit of news we're going to talk about before we wrap up. it's what, like I said, we have one more thing with Captain America we're going to talk about, but I don't really usually care about budgets for movies, but I will say this looks crazy to me. This is a little crazy that the budget is this high. I know they've had to reshoot the movie basically because of all the drama and stuff like that. I get it, but this movie has to break $1 billion for them to see a profit now at this point, because it's going to be close to 500 million. And then
I honestly think we're going to get close to $1 billion, if not $1 billion.
You think so?
Yeah, because I guarantee that there's going to be a lot of people that want to hate watch it.
You're probably right. All right, so this is the reason why I'm a little concerned, and I think it's kind of an unfair expectation, but let's look at what they say here. According to an article that's posted over on Screen Rant here from like an interview, it says, if Brave New World performs well and audiences enjoy Sam continuing Steve Rogers' legacy as the next Captain America, Marvel could be inclined to adopt more legacy heroes. If it goes poorly, the MCU may be encouraged to replace more classic heroes. So they're saying that if this movie doesn't do well, it's going to be like they're going to have to backtrack on a lot of the stuff they're doing. I don't think that's a fair expectation for a movie that has the biggest budget that any Marvel movie's ever had as an individual film. That feels a little weird to me. Do we agree or disagree with this?
Yeah, and the fact that like it's already had its share of problems, like with how Falcon and the Winter Soldier was, right? So the fact that they're using this as that benchmark and litmus test is ridiculously offensive, and they like off the bat they're starting with a handicap that it shouldn't be if they're doing that, so like how dare you, in my opinion, how dare you do that?
Yeah. And what about you, Omega?
I've read this wrong earlier. I thought they were saying they was going to just replace legacy heroes. I was like, do you read comics? You know how many heroes get replaced out of groups?
Yeah, I think they mean just in the terms of the MCU, they would go back to just doing the classic characters and not doing any of the newer versions of them, basically. And I think that's unfortunate because I think the MCU, if you go back and you look at what the MCU is and the way it's designed, because we've never seen anything like that before in film, it's going to be really hard to quote unquote reboot that, because people are going to go, why should I get invested in a new setup of these characters with all the investment that I put into this universe? A very successful universe. That feels like a backtrack to me. And I know eventually, maybe 20 years, 30 years from now, they might try and softly reboot some of this stuff, but I feel like it's too soon now. We're too heavily into this to just redo everything.
And also, I think it's there is already a soft reboot. Like they already soft rebooted.
Yeah, that's what Infinity War did. And,
but say didn't Infinity War they killed off a bunch of characters?
Yeah, and then Endgame they brought them back, and
they brought a few new people. Some people are gone for good.
And also they in this new phase they introduced basically a bunch of young people that could be eventually a young Avengers.
Yeah.
So they kind of soft rebooted the Avengers.
Lone Wolf says definitely gonna be Shishido. It's gonna be good. A train here. Are you more interested in Cap or Thunderbolts? I'm kind of interested in both of them. For different reasons. I'm interested in Cap because I loved Falcon and Winter Soldier as a show. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I actually really enjoyed it.
Loved it.
So I want to see where they go with the story after that. As far as Thunderbolts go, I like a lot of those characters in Thunderbolts. Red Guardian is a character I love, so I'm looking forward to him. Just a lot of those characters I want to see come back. I think Ghost is really cool. Going to be good to see her back as well. So yeah, I'm interested in both of them. I'm excited for both of them.
They have a bunch of characters that make it more appealing. So I mean, like those characters we've seen before, like Black Widow and Bucky and these and Red Guardian. These characters that we've seen before are being formed into a team that makes it appealing to go watch it.
I mean, to be fair, it's basically a like antagonist Avengers. That's kind of what the movie is.
Mhm.
They really need to nail that in the promotion for the movie because that's what's going to bring people in. Like that's what's going to make people want to see the film. Like otherwise, it's going to end up just being the Marvels all over again, and people are just going to overlook it. They need proper promotion and proper care about what they do with these characters. To be honest,
See, this is another thing, right? Is where would these fall in the category of returning like OG characters? Because the legacy that these guys have set up is for themselves, not other people. You know what I mean?
right?
Yeah.
So where do these line up? Are they just going to be like whipped back because of other people? Like, what the hell are you going to be doing?
It's really it would be really hard for Marvel to do that because I know they're planning the Fantastic Four. We don't have a lot of time left because I want to wrap this up, but Fantastic Four is set in an alternate timeline, an alternate universe in the multiverse, and they're going to be brought over into the main continuity at some point. So I think if they want to go back and do classic characters and not have all that baggage that the MCU has, that's what they're going to have to do. I don't think a full-on reboot is going to work.
I always find it funny that apparently Doctor Strange has like foreseen 2 Avengers movies or 2 movies within the MCU. One was Endgame because he goes, we're in the Endgame now. And then in his second movie, he goes, didn't you guys chart in the 60s?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're doing a Fantastic Four set in the 60s on another universe.
All right, this is going to be, we're not going to do a discussion on this, but I just want some thoughts on it before we wrap this up. It's not really a topic, but I'm going to show a picture on screen, and then I just want overall thoughts from everybody. Okay, are you prepared for this? You ready?
Okay.
Kamir from The Acolyte being completely naked in the ocean while training, while grooming OSHA is basically what the scene was. Overall thoughts on all of this, this episode?
I didn't see that. I watched it for, it was really good for the fight scene. I like, as soon as I thought it was epically done where he breaks a lightsaber with his head. That was awesome.
Oh, well played, Admiral Akbar. It's a thirst trap. Yeah, well played.
So honestly, I was stunned by this bit. Right, I've been an absolute defender of this series. Okay, and I will always be. But like, I was like, man, this character is taking a swing. That is a big swing, right? And then when you think about it, right, it's a little R-wordy, okay? Because he's just, bath or not, right, he has just whipped it out in an attempt of seduction, okay?
Right.
What are you doing? What are you doing, lad?
He was using his lightsaber to seduce her to the dark side. That was the whole point of the scene. His heavy saber, I should say. He was using his heavy saber to seduce her to the light side. Mara says being naked is woke.
Oh my god.
100%.
What the?
Look, I thought it was funny because so many people lost their minds over this because a hot guy is being hot in Star Wars, and I've seen a lot of videos where they were just freaking out about it. Look, there's a lot of issues like this episode. If you watch my review, you'll know that I had some issues with the episode. But I just thought it was funny they were going nuts over this, but the same group of people that were going nuts over this are the people that say that women are not sexy enough in TV shows and movies.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what's funny also is until now, I didn't see him as a hot guy.
And what's funny?
I'm not gay, but this is kind of hot.
What's funny is everybody was attacking the show for having a lesbian creator, and like there's just a full naked dude just out, you know.
I can't.
Look at that. Just the seduction, the bedroom eyes there. Sith thirst trap. I called it Sith Boy Island in my original cover here. So
my clothes back on.
Like how did he think that was gonna work? Like, I don't care if you got abs and buns of steel. Like, there is no way that's gonna work. Back it up.
I don't know. It's just the whole thing was.
I think he knew it wasn't going to work, but he didn't give a fuck anyway, so he just basically said it.
Yeah, it's just us two on this island. I'm going for a swing.
I mean, that's exactly it. That's the juxtaposition of all of it for me. The people that got upset, like,
yes.
yeah, it's like
They
my
just
issue
get
is
mad when it's something that doesn't appeal to them, and if it's as soon as it appeals to them, then it's all no one really gives a shit. But as soon as
Yeah.
it doesn't appeal to them, then when they was get on this soapbox to start yelling culture war bullshit BS, I was like, I'm just sick of it. I don't care.
Go ahead, Rita. I'm sorry.
I did think it was funny. Not the plot of this, not this, but the plot of them switching. I thought I was like, that's not going to work because you have because they know that there's twins, and I just knew it was just going to fall apart because as soon as he had basically confirmed that she's OSHA and basically said her name, I was like, the May is not going to work out either.
Well, I issue with all of that, and I'm not gonna. Again, I've got my review up, so I'm not gonna dive too deep into it. But this episode felt like a lot of padding. It's like it was an episode that didn't need to exist. Really, it could have been done as part of another episode.
It did feel like it basically they were trying to stretch the story out, so they basically.
Paige would say it's not a filler episode, and I'd be like, oh, it kind of was full of a lot of filler. But,
it filled a lot of naked people.
I honestly, I think it's just because there's 7 and 8 left, right? That was episode 6. I think those are going to be so tightly bound that this was just moving pieces that needed to be set in place for that to happen. So, like, it was absolutely needed, I would say, because the next 2 episodes, dude, we've got revelations, we've got battles, we've got, I'm assuming people being unalived, like all sorts.
I think we also got a mystery that's been like basically it's been like spread out and sprinkled, and then we thought we got it covered and all like wrapped in a tiny little bow, and then they basically open it up again with what's his name?
Kamir?
No, the master has a secret that he hasn't told anyone.
Saul, you're talking about Saul.
Yeah, they basically had this whole backstory wrapped up in episode 3, I believe, and then they like open it up again in 6.
No.
Omega, are you watching Acolyte at all or no?
No, I need to get the password back from my mom.
You need to watch it. You're the Star Wars guy too. You're like one of the
that's why I'm like really missing out because like I hear from like legit actual criticism. I hear it ranges from it's pretty good to it's kind of meh. And I'm not even listening to the woke people, the anti-woke or the woke people. Both y'all are assholes. I hate y'all. But in terms of actual legit criticisms, I hear there's some things here and there that aren't. Really
there's been really weak episodes, but there's also been really strong episodes.
Yeah.
So that's.
I can't think of one. Honestly, I love all of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's going to be a difference of opinion. I think the show is solid though. Like, I don't have an issue. Like with the show, I think the show's a solid show. Naruto here says, I missed the boys' discussion, but curious, did you see the reveal of JDM being a figment of Butcher's mind? I had a feeling. This is going to be up for everybody to watch. Like, you can scroll back Naruto, but we talk about that in quite a lot of detail earlier in the stream. I thought it was probably one of the best twists of the show, maybe one of the best twists of the series. In my opinion. So,
I didn't see it coming for you. I did not see it coming.
I saw it coming.
Oh my
Be
God.
proud of yourselves. Be proud of yourselves. I really didn't. When he said it, when he was like, "Will you shut the F up?" I was like, "Hey, wait, what? What? No way!
So good.
That's insane. That was so good."
So anyway, we're going to wrap up the stream today for the return of the Weekly Geekly. So this will start being on Saturdays in place of the after party. So tune in on Saturdays at 5:30 for the Weekly Geekly, where we'll be talking about tons of subject, and it will still be an open bar concept where we might have different guests or things like that. Pagey's under the weather. That's why he's not here this weekend. He's got a cold, a flu or something. I believe he's just probably out like enjoying the weather or something, because I know it's.
I was going to say get better soon. So
in the middle of the winter. No, I believe he's really sick though. But he shared a picture of going to McDonald's, So I don't know. Like,
I mean, that does make you happy.
The way they call it Macca's down there.
yeah, Macca's. Yeah.
They do deliver.
Anyway, but the after party will return. It's going to be on a different night, so we'll discuss that more. But join us next Saturday, this time for the Weekly Geekly. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see everyone later. Bye.